I'm turning you back over to Erin Bennett. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So we are here today to discuss a couple things. One is I'm going to be showing you how to use the new report format that we are publishing, and also to go over some things that need to be reminded. You need to be reminded of, because some people are maybe not understanding the steps they need to do during draft period, and how to. I get a lot of questions about how do I look at my data and how do I know if it's right or not. The hard part about that is I can't tell you if it's right or not. You guys, I can point you at what to look at. And so that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today. So Maya was already on here. Maya Ingram is the manager for Statewide Hub Program, and I'm Erin Bennett. I'm the team lead for data management team, and I'm the one who does the processing for the Hub semi-annual and annual report. Our agenda today is, first off, what's changed about the report. This is just kind of high-level changes. We have sent out detailed instructions on how to kind of get through the reports and export the data, and we'll go over some of that again here today, but that is still available out there for you. How to use those new reports, how to review your data in the reports, as I mentioned, what you should be doing during the draft periods, how to fix your errors during the drafts, and then we'll end up with questions at the end. So first of all, what's changed since the semi-annual? The published report format has changed and allows users the ability to generate their own individual kind of on-demand reports using business objects. And the nice thing about it is you can choose how you want to export those formats, especially Excel. It's much more cleaner and user-friendly process now. The underlying data that we're collecting has not changed. The way that agencies are uploading their data has not changed. All that has changed is that format of the output for the for reviewing both the draft and the final reports. Another thing that's changed, some of the reports have been combined together to present in a more clear format. One of them that's the big change is, rather than the state rankings being the top 50 or the top 25, they're actually showing all agencies in this reporting period ranked. The new reports are also, they're going to be displayed exactly the same place as the old one. It's the same link on our website. The previous reporting periods are still going to be out there until they hit their 5th year when they roll off. That hasn't changed. But starting with semi-annual 2022 forward, they will be available in the new format. And again, they will still fall off after 5 years. Some of the reports have been combined together into one report with multiple tabs, because they either have overlapping data or related data tables. And I'll be showing you some of those. So this is very similar. We tried to keep it very similar to what the old page looked like, but it's a lot cleaner because we don't have like the PDF and the text version here. But this is where you'll go. You just click the report you want. So in this case, we're going to view the details by object code. And you'll be taken to a criteria screen specifically for that report. You'll select your criteria, so fiscal year 2022, and you can either double click the criteria you want, or you can click it and hit the arrow to move it over to the selection box. These that have red arrows are required. And once you've selected that criteria, it will turn green. If they have a long list of criteria, say like agency numbers, it's easier to type in the amount you're looking for, hit the little binocular and it will populate up here. So you can choose it just like before. You can either double click to move it over or select and click to move it over. And then hit OK to view the report. So this is an example of some of the reports that have been combined. So this typically was like the top 50 ranking. Again, this is all agencies now. And you can see down here, each tab will have these sorted slightly differently. You're not able to sort it yourself here, but if I click on the total hub, ranked by total hub expenditures, it's going to be ranking it by this column here. If you go to the percentages, it will be ranked high to low for this column. So you can either get to those by clicking on the tabs, or there's this navigation on the side of the report. So you can click on the one you want. Once the report is generated, you can actually change your parameters within that report. Say you wanted to look at another fiscal year for your agency or compare yourself maybe to another agency. You can go here and depending on what the available criteria are, here we've got a fiscal year and reporting period. So you can hit this little question mark and it will pull up these prompts. First thing you're going to have to do is choose the show list of values. So that will populate the values that are available in here. And then once you do that, you can select the value you want and hit run, and it will update this report with the new criteria. So another way you can kind of manipulate your data within the report itself. Up here, depending on the report, you'll have various criteria that you can sort with as filters. In this case, we can sort by the record type here. So if you wanted to see all your, say, subcontracting, you could click subcontracting, and then these other fields will go away and you just see the subcontracting fields for this report. If you want to have a larger viewing area here, you can hit this double chevron and that will close this or minimize this navigation and give you a little more field of view here. So now that you've got your report generated and you want to export it, all you have to do is hit this export button and it'll pull you up to this pane. And this is where you can make your selections. So on the top, just leave it as reports because that's the format you're going to be pulling it out. Okay, then what type of file do you want? Do you want an Excel, a PDF, .text? You can choose that here. Go ahead and leave this prioritization, easy data processing to Excel. What I've been told is that will make it very readable because some of these are very complex tables. So this will keep the default formatting there so it's legible when you export it. And just leave the image DPI as the default that it comes up with here. Hit OK, and that will, you can save it to your computer. So if you have one of these reports that has the multiple tabs, like we had for the rankings, when you go to export, like we just did, you'll get this additional box that will show all three of the reports within those tabs. It will default to exporting all three tabs, all three reports at once. Now, if you're doing that as an Excel, it'll come out as 3 tabs. If you're doing it as a PDF, all 3 reports will come out in one long PDF format. So one page after another. If you wanted to just say, extract the agency ranked by total hub expenditures, you could deselect and just select that one and export that one by itself. But by default, it will select all 3 or all the reports within it. So each time you open up a new report, it's going to open a new browser tab. Say you're done with this report and you want to go back and open a different report. all you have to do is just close this current report tab and go back to this fiscal year 2022 annual report. And that's that home page where you can just select the new report and then go back through the process of generating the new reports. So we're going to look specifically at just your agency's hub reports and how to review your agency data. So those are all found down here under the Section 7 reports, and we'll go through each one of those for you. So first off, this one's pretty easy. This one really hasn't changed other than the fact it's a 2-tab report now instead of state agencies by name, state agency by number. So again, this is one that you can just flip between the tabs and export both together. So the consolidated report is where we are starting to get some questions. I get questions all the time about what this data means. And so when you're looking at this, this is the top section of your consolidated report. What confuses people a lot of the times is they want to add up their total non-hub and their total hub to get their total expenditures. And they don't understand why, like in this case, you know, that's 197%, that doesn't make sense. What you need to keep in mind is it might look like you could do that, like here. But the problem is this number contains subcontractors. So your subcontracting records are falling in here. So when you're looking at this is your total treasury, oops, sorry about that, total treasury plus non-treasury expenditures for this building and construction category. This is the same number, so you can see that all of those payments went to prime non-hub contractors. So 100% of your payments went to non-hubs. But this amount includes your subcontracting. So this dollar amount is already accounted for in these total expenditures. So these two things added up can't equal this. Okay, and if you have questions about this, because I know it's confusing, I'm going to show you how to compare the consolidated to your agency expenditures report, which I think it steps it back and gives you more details. Remember, this is a high level summary report of all of your stuff coming together, where you've got the expenditures is your next step back with more detail, and then beyond that is all your agency detail line level information. So you want to use all the tools to try to see what your data is. So the next one, so this is where we're talking about your state agency report. So start off, first thing, we've got your treasury data here for each category, your non-treasury, subcontracting, and that's split up by the different hub categories. Term contract expenditures here that are backed out using the PCC codes, A, B, and C. And our system does that automatically if you have it properly coded. And your internal government transactions, which you back out during the draft period, and that's this I, intergovs. So now, I wanted to show you where, so this top section is this state agency expenditure data. So you can see we're getting more details about where everything is coming from. And then it's rolled up, and this is what we were just looking at, the consolidated. So our total expenditures are coming over here. Our total hubs are coming from here. And you can see that hub amount matches all your subcontracting right there. So if you're ever questioning what your numbers mean on your consolidated, I recommend, this is the one I go to when I get agencies calling asking about their data. I think it's the best insight. And then the even more detailed, this is a section of your detailed reports by agency. And you can see here that these are falling into your hub spend because those are matched to our valid hubs list by VID. And this is showing that this one was backed out by the agency for intergovernmental payments. And if there was term contracts, there would be a TC in one of these columns as well. And you can see also it's all broken out in the bottom, summed for each section. So you get the total number of intergov that was backed out, total number of commodities after that, treasury, non-treasury hubs, all that. So this is really good detail if you really need to dig in and see if your data is right. Okay, so talking about the draft review timeline. So we determine the draft period, and typically the first draft we give you a week, sometimes a little more than a week, and that is after the initial opening between the 1st and the 15th of either March 1st and 15th or September 1st and 15th for your initial reporting. Then I do the run the processes, and we open it up for that first draft period. Any corrections have to be made during that opening draft period and submitted before the draft closes. CPA Hub portal will be open to agencies and universities during the initial reporting period and 2 additional draft periods. If agencies want to exclude intergovernment payments, it must be done during one of those draft periods. And one of the reasons I say that is I'm not able to enter those for you. So you need to, if you want to back those out of your numbers. Please note, no corrections may be made to the Treasury data after August 31st of the current fiscal year. These corrections must be made by the agencies, universities, and financial offices. So I always get questions about, hey, we paid the wrong VID, and we're not getting hub credit, and how do I fix that? Well, after August 1st, can't. It has to be addressed through your financial office prior to the end of fiscal year. Draft period timeline. So we said the portal opens for our initial data entry. It closes on the 15th, and run the first draft, and we publish it. While that draft period is open, what you guys need to be doing, agencies, you can go in and review your data for accuracy, make necessary changes and upload corrections or additions, and make intergovernmental payments for exclusions. So you're not able to see those if they are Treasury data until that first draft period, because I load the draft or the Treasury data for you. So that's your first opportunity to go and see your Treasury data along with everything you uploaded, and to mark those intergovernmental payments for exclusion. First draft period closes. I run the process again on that updated data, and then we open up for the second draft. This is your final opportunity. So this is, if you made any changes in that first draft, you definitely want to go in here and make sure that the changes you uploaded are properly reflected at that point. If you didn't make any changes in the first draft and your data looks fine, you don't need to go in here. You might want to just for sanity's sake, but if you made changes, you definitely should be going in and looking at that, because you may have missed some intergovernmental payments that you want to exclude. You could have double loaded your numbers. That happens almost every reporting period. If you uploaded a file up in the first draft, you need to make sure and go remove your original file, or you will have the old data and the new data there. And that will cause double entries. The hub report is then published after that final second draft is done. And that's final. So what do you need to be doing during the draft periods? Review your draft reports while the portal is open. Please, please, please. Because if you don't catch the errors in the draft, it gets published and it messes up everything. It messes up the whole state's numbers. Especially if you're a big agency, that's the problem we're having right now. So please take that opportunity to review your data. And the way you do that during the draft, you're going to log in to the Hub portal. You go to Hub Report, view Hub Draft. So right now, these links are still going to the previous report versions. Between now and semi-annual, we're going to be working at getting these linked to the new reports. So you'll be able to view the more user-friendly reports during the draft as well. But we weren't able to do that for the annual. So during the review period, I encourage you to go and download all your agency reports so you have them. Review them while the portal is open for each draft period. I've had people come back and say, hey, my numbers are wrong. Did you review the draft? Well, I downloaded it, but I didn't look at them. Then it's still past the time and we can't fix it. So review it while the draft is open. If there is someone, whether it's your agency procurement officer or director of procurement, if there's somebody that really should be looking at these numbers before they're finalized and they're just seeing it once the report is uploaded, the final report's uploaded, I would encourage you to have them look at it once you get those downloaded and let them know what your time period is for your deadline while you're checking your data. More eyes are probably going to be a good thing for you, and it helps everybody. I encourage you to start with looking at that agency expenditure report, just because it shows you your subcontracting, all of your expenses are summarized there, and then you can dig farther if you need to. Are your totals what you expected? Most of you guys, I think, have a pretty good idea about what you should have. So is that what you expect or what you usually see? Compare it to your agency detail report. So those two together, like I showed you, can give you some insight. Are there duplicate transactions in this agency detail report? That's a big clue right away. If you look in there and you're like, wow, I've got my non-treasury's doubled, or my subcontracting is doubled. Then if that's the case, go to your search confirmations and reload and check your for duplicate files. And I'll be showing you that screenshot. Are there expenditures missing? You expected to have some subcontracting or non-treasury and you're not seeing it. You need to look into that. Make sure you aren't missing reporting sections for your agency, subcontracting, non-treasury, group, credit cards, whatever applies. Make sure you've kind of gone through your checklist and you have everything that you expected. Are all your hubs marked with their hubs certification category? I get this one a lot too. I say, hey, this guy's a hub, but he's not marked. Could be he wasn't a hub until after the start of the fiscal year. So he can't be counted for last fiscal. There might have been a typo in VID, so look to see if the hubs you're expecting to be there are listed as hubs. Check the data on your consolidated report. Does it look right? Compare it again to the agency expenditures report and the detailed report. If you have questions about the numbers, go there. And even if you're in doubt or you just want a little reassurance, maybe look back at last fiscal's years, the last semi or the last annual. They're probably going to be kind of similar. If they are drastically different, either high or low, I would dig into it some more. Okay, so what do you do if you find errors? Again, while the portal's open, you can go in there and fix them. You can click on Load Initial Hub Report Payments or search your confirmations and see what's loaded there. So here you got to correct your file first. Figured out what the issue is. I got it corrected, ready to load. So I'll go in here, go to submit your payment data. You're going to browse, choose where you want your file, where you have your file saved. Click submit. You will get a confirmation email sent to you. If you don't, go back into the search confirmations and resubmit and make sure your file's there. Because if you didn't get a confirmation, you might have missed hitting submit or timed out or something. But you should always get a confirmation both when you're uploading or deleting a file. Okay, so you hit submit and then go to search confirmations and resubmit. And that's what this page is. This is actually a very useful page that I think is underutilized. So once you have your loaded file, you need to go here and delete your previous version of the file. You can see here, this person uploaded an updated version. So they had one on September 9th, they loaded, has the same name, so that makes me suspicious because they're both in records. Slightly different dollar amounts, but this is in final and they have both of them there. When we run the report, that data will be doubled. So always go in here and check. So what you'd need to do is you'd need to delete this top one just by hitting the little trash can there. And then you can load any additional files you want by just going to submit another payment data. And you can even export your files here. You can go say, hey, let me make sure that that's the version that I think it was. So you can hit this little export and get the text format version just like you uploaded. I use that all the time when agencies call in, so I can compare it to what I'm seeing in the report without them having to send the file to me. And now I think this is a big tip for me. I recommend that you go in when you think you're finished, both after your initial or after you upload any files. When you think, okay, my files are there, I'm good, come to this page and take a screenshot just like this, because then you can save this and say, okay, this was my draft 1 files. Here's my initial files. And if you're in doubt, you can always go back to that and have that as a reference that that's what was loaded at that time. And that's really all I have. If we want to talk about questions, I know Maya wanted to recap what we talked about in the beginning, but are there questions that you all have?
So before we take questions, let me I made a couple of notes. That was excellent, Erin. Thank you so much. So to clarify too, this reporting format is intended to provide more of a transparency of all agencies that are reporting. So before it used to include just the top 20, the top 10, whatever those rankings were. And this allows anyone who's really looking for that to get a true picture of what everybody in the state is doing. So this report is intended to be that. The CPA draft periods, when we establish what the timelines are going to be, we have to consider statutorily calendar requirements, the dates for that, and we have to make sure that we're providing enough time for draft data entry to be entered and for us to be able to review it and run those reports and to a draft report. So it's not a timeline that we just throw together. We have to put it together based on the calendar and those statutory dates and make sure everybody's provided with enough time to complete what they have to do. So with that, we can take questions. And there's 3 questions in here. Let's see. Now there's 4. They're coming. Okay, so the very first one says, it's anonymous attendee. I have no idea who you are. And I don't know what page we were on when you put this question in. I've tried several times at the beginning to do exactly what you just did and get into the report and have been unable to go to the next screen. Example, once I choose FY22, I'm unable to go to the next step.
Okay, if you're having troubles with that, feel free. My number is here. My email, we can contact me and we can jump on a WebEx and I can walk you through it if you're having troubles with the steps. It may be a browser issue. I can't tell until I see you do it, but I'm just get a hold of me and I'll help you.
Okay, great. Will you send the slide show out? Yes, we will be sending that out. Lauren will be sending it out, and we're going to have this recorded. So, Teresa, how are we going to post the recording? Or Lauren, how are we going to take care of the recording? We're going to provide a link for anybody who wants the recording. We're not going to post it on the website, but we will
No.
provide a link.
Yes, so this is Teresa. We will provide a link to you, Maya, that you can send out to the hub coordinators, and we'll post it to the DIR YouTube page.
Great. And after we send that out, if you have questions about that, please contact Lauren Ott, and she'll have that available. She's easier to get a hold of sometimes than I am. Okay. Will this information be included in the annual instructions? You mean the reporting presentation? We're going to provide this link so you can have it whenever you need it.
We had talked about sending out the link to this and also the other training video we had done along with the the annual and semi-annual instructions.
Okay.
So maybe once we can do a refresher.
We can provide both of those, and we'll look at doing refreshers. At least for a little while, we'll keep doing the refreshers. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that we all lose the semi-annual reporting this session. It's talk, but I don't know for sure if it's going to be done or not. So we will do it again for the next reporting session, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, another question. Our agency uses CAPS. I'm assuming our information goes straight to the comptroller and IG is automatically separated. We only provide the supplemental reports.
No, the supplemental data that you get from CAPS, you have to enter. The only thing that we enter for the report is your treasury data. So even though you're going through CAPS, you have to enter that data from CAPS.
Okay. Okay, will you email a copy of the presentation slides? Yes, we will provide those. Is it possible to make multiple uploads for the report by specific categories, or is it not allowed?
Multiple uploads by specific categories.
So did somebody, whoever typed this up, I guess send us another question and let's try and see if we can figure out what exactly your question is. Multiple uploads.
I mean, if you're talking about like multiple uploads, like your non-treasury in one file, your group, your supplemental or your subcontracting, if that's, I don't know if that's what you're talking about, or you're talking about different categories.
Okay. Aaron, is it possible to include some of the details you verbally shared during this presentation on the actual PowerPoint? If not, we can go back to the recording. I think we tried to make it as clear as possible on the presentation. So we can provide this and you can have a copy of it. And if you listen to the recording, then maybe you can jot some notes on your presentation to keep for you.
Yeah, I hate to get too detailed on the screen. It gets very wordy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and cluttered, so.
And you know, Erin's still available. Her information, contact information is at the end. So if you have some of those questions and would like to request a one-on-one time with her, send her an email and she'll set a schedule or a time for that works for both of you to go through over whatever you need. So, okay, how long does a supplier have to be an active hub for the fiscal year in order to count? So for that question, any hub that is certified for any day of that fiscal year from September 1 through August 31st can be counted throughout the whole year as a hub for that contract. You can't count them as a hub for a brand new contract, but you can count them for that contract if they expire in the middle of, or even if they're certified on September 1 and expire on September 2nd, and they already have a contract, you can count them for the rest of that year under that contract. You cannot count them as a brand new vendor. Do suppliers that are on DIR contracts count in this data? For example, SUMUS.
They get marked as DIR. If you have, I believe that it's marked by your PCC, just like term contract is marked. And that would show on your agency detail reports, believe it's marked as DIR.
Okay, and so for that, again, that's the procurement method. And if SUMUS is certified for at least one day of that fiscal year, then you can count them as a hub. What is the best point of contact for resetting your access to Texas Smart Buy? I believe that's
help
a
desk.
super user. Oh, the help desk. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're locked out, so if you are fixing to lock yourself out and you've done 2, you can always hit reset or forgot my password before you lock yourself out with the 3rd try. If it comes up and says, hey, you're locked out, contact the Texas Smart Buy help desk, call them, they'll unlock you, and either you can do the reset do your self-serve for resetting your password, or they can reset it for you while you're there.
Okay. And that Texas Smart Buy page is on the comptroller's webpage.
Yeah, and if you go to the www.texassmartbuy.com and go to the help page in there, it's also listed as the Smart Buy help desk.
Okay. By non-treasury and subcontracting your credit cards, etc. Yes. Not sure what the question is.
Oh, I think that's going back to the categories.
Okay.
So your question was, I believe, is it okay to do them as separate files? Honestly, that is what I recommend. I get people who do one big file with their non-treasury, their group, their subcontracting, and their P card all in one and upload it. It's fine, that won't hurt anything. However, if you have troubles and we have errors with your subcontracting, let's say, and you're having troubles getting that resolved, and we have to close the draft and move on, I can't process the report with your errors in there. So the only way I can resolve the errors is to remove your entire file. So that being said, if it's all in one file, you won't see any of your data other than treasury, because I had to pull that file down in the draft. So if you had subcontracting errors and everything else is good, I can just remove the subcontracting file, and you can review all your other data in the first draft and resolve your subcontracting issues and see that in your second draft. So that's the recommended way to go.
That's awesome. That's a good thing to do. Okay, on page 30 of your presentation, and I think that's the page we're referring to, you talked about the page that is underutilized. When making corrections and viewing their confirmations of fixes, you stated that the quote, old files should be deleted because if you don't, it would be reported as double. That's correct. How can that be if in your presentation screenshot, there were 2 different submitted dates?
So the date is different. The file is the same. So you can see here, so this is annual A. I don't know what that is, what kind of record that is. Here's your credit card records. This is subcontracting, non-treasury, non-treasury. So he loaded this on September 9th. The date doesn't matter. It's that file, these 2 files contain duplicate information because I've loaded it twice. And that's why you need to go back and delete this previous one.
Right. So what happens is probably they entered a file as they were reviewing whatever they were reviewing before it closed. They determined that something was incorrect, so they reloaded correct data, but they didn't go and delete the original data. So by having 2 different files on 2 different dates, that gives you kind of a heads up that these files are duplicated in some way, and one of them was not deleted. And so therefore those numbers, if you look at the total numbers, are very close to each other. They're going to duplicate, or they're going to up your numbers, and they're not going to be correct because they're double reports, double reported numbers. Okay, and then she says, wouldn't the latest submitted date of the revised file be the only one CPA to upload his final report?
No.
Yeah.
No, because there's multiple files here and they all have different names. Even if you have the same name, it'd be in there twice because we don't know which file's right. So it's up to you to make sure that the files that are here when you're done are the only files you want loaded.
Okay, can there be a mock training where we pull data from CAPS training and enter it in a training module? Some learn by doing. Again, that's your
yeah.
CAPS, so it's probably something you need to go training in your agency.
Well, but I think they're talking about uploading it in a practice environment for us. And yeah, we really not really able to do that.
We'll look and we'll see if there's an option for us to do. But at this point, we don't have one.
Yeah.
But we'll look at that. Do IDIQs count for supplemental data? I believe that's going to be if they're, I mean, IDIQs is the procurement method is they're subcontracting to it. It's a contract, so you're going to report it as a contract. I'll get a better answer for that one. Is there a new attachment A for FY23 for procurement categories and object codes?
No.
Every reporting period, you will get a current procurement categories and object codes. If anything is changed, then that'll be changed on the information that you get at the beginning of the reporting announcement. We do make sure that that's updated, and if it's not, please let us know. But there's generally not a whole lot of changes to that. So
I mean, I've been running a report for 9 years and I've never updated the categories. So
it's never been changed.
yeah, it's pretty stable, but still always go with the current version we send out.
Right. I'm brand new. My predecessor did the annual report. Can you review where we are in the review schedule?
We're done. We shouldn't be doing anything right now, actually, but
when will the portal, it was this decision to rerun this report was above us, and so we had to run the whole thing again. When will the portal be open?
The portal is
I believe
open
it's
right
open
now.
through today.
Yep, it's open through today. If your data looks good, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Only if you see that there is an error you need to correct, update your data. Otherwise, nothing will change. Your report should look the same as what we have published right now for the final report. That's it. And we won't be opening it for the draft. I'll be sending out the updated reports to those agencies who have gone in and made changes, because I can see that you've made changes.
So what y'all are seeing right now with this rerun of the report is for certain agencies that are making their changes. As Erin said, if you didn't make any changes, do not change anything, then your numbers on the report that's completed and posted are correct. I think what you're asking here too, this is not a normal rerun. No. We will not do this again, and again, this is not something that typically happens. It was above us that came in, told us to run it again. You need to look at your timeline for the dates, the timeline when we submit or when we send out all of the reporting information for each semi or annual report. You get all of the documents you need. You're going to get the procurement categories and object codes. You're going to get a timeline with dates and times where it's open and closed, and when you have time to review, and when we are in the process of publishing that draft report. And as soon as the second draft report is completed, there is no more changes that can be made to that report. We have a statutory date that we have to complete that annual and semi.
Oh, I think we lost Maya's audio. You lose my audio?
Erin, we hear you fine.
Oh, okay.
Lose Maya.
Okay. Were there other questions?
Will you send the slideshow out
Yes,
and or the recording? Yes. Yes to both, right?
yes.
Okay. Will this information be included in the annual instructions?
Yes, we will send that out. We'll start sending that out with the semi-annual instructions.
Okay. Let's see. Our agency uses CAPS. I'm assuming our information goes straight to the comptroller and
Oh,
IG.
we did that one. We did
We
that,
did
I
that one,
think.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Will you email a copy of the slide? Yes, we will. Is it possible to make multiple uploads?
Oh, I think you're going through the same ones. I think.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
she's already.
Yes. Maybe
there's-
skip down to the bottom, go up towards the top.
Sure.
I think we're at the question from CAPS ? CAPS doesn't track subcontracting payments. Why wasn't this a mandatory CAPS feature?
It may be, you may want to talk to CAPS because I know internal CPA.
Okay. Question on DIR. Our DIR vendors are listed under Hub and ETH. Do not see anything under DIR. How does those DIR vendors get under there on the Treasury report? Teresa?
Okay, so if you're using a hub and they're a subcontractor, you get that subcontracting by the par that's submitted to you. That's how you get that information. But if you're using a reseller, because at DIR, that's the only place that you're going to you'll have that available to you, then you'll use payment information for that. But I'm not sure. Listen, do not see any under DIR.
I'm back. Would you repeat that question?
Says question on DIR. Our DIR vendors are listed under Hub and it says ETH. I'm not sure. Do not see anything under DIR. How does those DIR vendors get under there on a Treasury report?
If I'm understanding the question, it'll go on a Treasury report based on how you are documenting your payment in the PO, in your PO.
Yeah, it'd be by
So-
PCC code. And in the Hub report, we determine, we assign the Hub certification category by VID. So if you have the proper VID and the proper PCC, it will get routed properly in the report.
But it starts in how you're reporting it in your financial system. And that's how our system's going to pick it up, if it's Treasury. Does that make sense? I hope.
Yes.
Can you show the navigation to delete the file again?
Erin, do you have that
Yeah.
presentation up?
Yeah, I got it. I got dropped too. So
Must have been our
oh, the Wi-Fi here is terrible.
office. Mhm.
Get back to Zoom. Share. Here we go. Come on.
So basically, when you're going to delete a file that you've entered on that line, the file that you entered on that right side, you're going to see a little trash can.
You just click the trash can next to the one that you
line item.
you want. Yeah. And to get there, you go to your search from the main line here. You go to search confirmations and resubmit. And you come to the screen and hit the trash can next to the one you want to delete. And it immediately comes up and says, are you sure you want to delete it? And you say yes, and then you'll get a confirmation that says, hey, you deleted you know, 204,000, blah, 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 records for this amount, and this is the file name. And all that comes out in your email.
So are there going to be additional trainings for new hub coordinators? There's a couple of things we have in the works for hub coordinators. We are still working on a hub coordinator best practice manual. I expect that to be completed by no later than the end of August. I will do my best to get it done earlier, but just knowing the process that it has to go to get it all complete and approved and all that kind of stuff, we will get that done. Any hub coordinators who have questions are free to call either Lauren or myself. And if we need to set some kind of a little overview or training or something, just kind of to go over everything or whatever you need, then we can set a time to visit with you individually or a group of you. So just send an email to myself or to Lauren and we'll see what we could do to get it on a schedule. That's the best way to schedule it.
And there's also a pre-recorded training that we did about a year
that's right.
ago that
Mhm.
is on the CPA training certification. You can go there and you can get an hour of credit for it.
That's right.
And you can go rewatch it
Mhm.
or take it the first time, either way.
There's one last question. Where is the timeline? Is it on the reporting procedures document?
No, it's a separate document we send out right before the month before. So usually for annual, we send out all the documents, including that timeline, mid-August. So you have it ahead of time. And it's goes out the same every year. It's got the procedures. We'll add these the videos and link videos in there so you can review that ahead of time and refresh yourself. Also, big thing that people miss out on sometimes is we remind you to go in and log in before you go into report. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody that has called me at 7 o'clock on September 15th, 7 o'clock at night, and left me a message, panic, because I blocked myself out of Smart Buy, or I don't remember my password. Log in ahead of time, especially if you're not a usual user. If you're only doing it 2 times a year, you're going to forget or have to reset it anyway. So log in ahead of time, make sure you know your password, and don't wait till 11:58 on September 15th to enter your data for the first time.
So
I
let me
see people do
remind you,
that.
let me remind you too, that if an auditor is going to audit your hub program, they're going to look to make sure that you have a document stating that you have entered your data before for the annual, it's September 15th, for the semi, it's March 15th. That is a statutory requirement that auditors will look for. So that confirmation that you entered your data that has the date on it is important for your file. Oh, and that email with all the reporting information that generally comes from me. And it usually on the subtitle, it says hub reporting, whether it's annual or semi-annual information, with about 4 or 5 different attachments to it. Okay, so let's just make sure, Erin, we for anybody who's making changes to their hub report, this annual hub report that was due for the FY22 annual report, today is the deadline. I believe it's 5 o'clock today. There are absolutely no extensions. Once we complete that,